Okay, this is an impromptu video. Not too sure about this mustache, but it's growing on me. That was awful. Yesterday I did Miraculous Ladybug, focusing mostly on Adrian. I wanted to talk today about Kagami. Yeah, Kagami, that's the name. Relatively recent character. I think she came in season 2. Japanese girl and fencer who's Adrian's main fencing competition. She is very much so a foil to Adrian in the show, highlighting the differences between them. I don't even know if they're intending to do this stuff or whether they're just decent writers and managed to pull it off. She is also from a very strict family. She also has no friends like Adrian. Adrian at least had 2 friends, his cousin and Chloe. Kagami has 0 friends her own age. The only contact we find out in her phone is her mother. But there's some stark differences between the 2 of them. One, Adrian, as I mentioned yesterday, is in rebellion against his parents, and he is rebelling by being, and his whole family really, by being the only nice person there. He is not just nice, but an actual good person. He chooses to do the right thing, no matter what it costs, and to try and make things right, no matter what it costs. Kagami has not made that choice. Kagami is not in rebellion from her mother, her blind mother, who's a better swordswoman than she is. A little heavy on some of these kung fu tropes here, going into this. I think whoever created this series, or one of the writers, must be a big fan of martial arts movies, which is fine. Kagami's mother, whose name, I don't know if they even mentioned it in the series, but she's not abusive. She's overprotective, but she spends all of her time with Kagami. She's not neglecting her. She's teaching her. She's homeschooling her, teaching her how to fence, and taking care of her. And apparently she's some kind of businesswoman with a connection to Gabriel Agreste, Adrian's father. Anyway, there's a lot of talk right now about Adrian and Kagami as a romantic couple, and Marinette and Luca, her classmate Julica, classmate Julica's older brother, Luca. Luca and Marinette seem to work pretty well together. I don't think Kagami and Adrian work particularly well together, and I'm going to go over why. They're both, you know, the expression opposites attract? There's some caveats to that. The fact of the matter is, people with opposite morals and morality do not attract and do not make very good couples, but people with opposite interests and pursuits and hobbies and personalities do attract. Human beings are very incomplete creatures, myself included, and we like to find somebody to complement us on this journey through life. It's probably the best way I can put it. Kagami and Adrian do not complement each other very well. Adrian's his morality is very on point. It's the forefront of who he is. He always chooses to do the right thing, and that costs often. Costs quite a bit often. But that's who he is. We haven't seen that in Kagami. They have a lot of similar pursuits, fencing. They have a similar background. Both very strict parents. All that stuff. So there's a lot of reasons what they do share a lot of things, but personality-wise, she's very much a go-getter. Much like her mother, probably. From everything we've seen about her mother, she's a lot like her mother. And that's not a bad thing. Her mother actually seems to be doing a very good job of raising her. And her mother clearly loves her and spends lots of time with her. It's certainly not a normal, typical relationship, but it's not a bad relationship. Kagami, I keep calling her that. Kagami wants a little bit more freedom, but not a lot more freedom. Adrian, on the other hand, his origin story is him defying his father to go to school. He's very much so in an odd state of rebellion with his father. It's not often that you see someone being a good person to rebel against their family. It's a very interesting dynamic that they don't explore much. They just show it a little here and there. Anyway, Kagami doesn't rebel. She doesn't. She disobeys her mother twice. Both times to be with Adrian. I think Kagami sees Adrian as her only friend until Marinette. She starts considering Marinette her friend, and then she only sees the two of them as her friends. Kagami doesn't know how the world works. She doesn't know how to interact with people at all. Adrian had some clue, and he really wanted to go to school and learn about this sort of thing, and Kagami doesn't. She just wants Adrian. She does want friends, but nope, she disobeys her mom 3 times. Anyway, she wants friends, but she's not willing to go to the same extreme that Adrian is. It's not that important to her comparatively. And Adrian they want different things in life. They're only 15, 16 years old. However old they're supposed to be in French high school, but they're not. Kagami is okay with seems to be more okay with taking things slow. Adrian wants, and Kagami also doesn't understand how to interact with people. That's made abundantly clear in the episode where her and Marinette become friends, because Marinette can't understand why Kagami is doing what she's doing. Once she figures it out. I'm not going to give anything more away than that. Yeah. Kagami doesn't know what it means to be friends. She doesn't really know what it means to be in love, and neither does Adrian. And Adrian has taken it very slow. We've got 3 seasons, which is only like a couple of months they haven't even finished their first year of school yet. But we have 3 seasons of him trying to be a friend and explaining that he doesn't understand sometimes why these people act the way they do, and afraid that he screwed everything up. Yeah. Kagami has met one boy and spent time with one boy, and now she's in love with that one boy. She spent time with one girl, and now she's friends with that one girl. That's the full extent of who she is and what she's done. She's very driven. You don't get to be a fencer at her level by not being driven. And that's important, to find somebody else who's driven. But luckily in this high school, a lot of people are driven. I actually think Luca would be better for Kagami. And I think they're going to figure that out. Because Kagami wants Adrian, and Adrian doesn't know what he wants. And he knows he doesn't know what he wants. He wants Ladybug. You got that love square I was talking about yesterday. But it's not just that he wants Ladybug. He understands that he doesn't understand how relationships work yet. And he's taking it slow. He's trying to be a good friend before he goes further than that. And Kagami is not. She wants to be with Adrian, and she's pushing for it. And I can't blame her. It's perfectly normal motivation. She's 15, 16 years old. I remember that age. Hormones rule your mind as much as you don't want them to. As much as you try and control yourself, and you can control yourself, that urge, that desire to be with somebody is incredibly powerful. So I get it. I get where she's coming from. But I think what she really needs is somebody like Luca. Now, I'm just going to do a quick overview of Luca. Neither one of these characters do we have a ton of time with, a lot more with Kagami than with Luca. Luca is very driven to be a success. He has mastered the guitar, and on the one time they go ice skating, he is an expert ice skater. He's easily the best person in that show at skating, except for the professional guy who runs the ice rink, but that's not what I'm talking about here. He's an amazing ice skater. Whatever he pursues wholeheartedly, apparently. We don't know a lot about him. He's very laid back, and tends to have a bit of wisdom because he's a little bit farther along. He's probably a year or two older, maybe 3 years older. Not to the point where we're spending time on a date with a girl who's 15, 16 would be cringy. But there's definitely an age difference there, and at that point in your life, that's a big difference. And he's taking it slow. He's not putting any pressure on Marinette. And he understands that Marinette is in love with Adrian, even though Adrian's so clueless, he has no idea. But he sees in Marinette a similar somebody who he could be with, and he's been good, very good about approaching her with that. And I have to assume that he screwed something up while he was in high school, because I'm guessing he's at the end of his high school journey. If he's a year older, if they're 15, 16, then that makes him 17, 18. He's probably had a high school romance. And this is guesswork, they don't tell us. He's probably, made the mistakes that's a lot of sunlight, made the mistakes that they're making now. And he's willing to go a little bit slower to get it right. What I like about Luca and Kagami is that their personalities they're both very driven people, and that's important in a relationship. Having similar, it needs some stuff in common, and some stuff needs to be different, but he's very laid back at the same time. You don't meet a lot of laid back, driven people. And she could be tempered by that. She could be tempered by that quite a bit. And he could be pushed to try harder by her. I think that would actually help balance them out, both of them out as people. And people tend to seek somebody who balances them out. And the show's about balance anyway, with the yin-yang and all that stuff that they talk about. So there you go. It's cold, and I'm getting a runny nose just because of the cold. So this is probably going to be my last one. I could do Marinette as far as a video on her goes, but she's the main character, and it's really obvious what her motivations are as you watch the show. Plus, it's a kid's show, and I really don't have that much more to say about it. I'm surprised at the depths that the writers get to. I'm surprised at the accuracy and the personality traits, and how well they actually take underlying causes in their life and work it into their personalities and such. They really did a surprisingly good job, especially since the start is so weak. Such a weak start. The bubbler and stormy weather, or whatever her name is, just a weak start. If I wasn't watching it in the background, I probably wouldn't have finished the series, honestly. After that first episode, I was done. When I got, I think, to the origin story, or maybe a couple before that, maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look at the episode list to figure out what actually drew me in. But it is a kid's show. It's not meant to hold the attention of an adult. They don't handle the topics that I would find interesting. I'm more likely to watch like a police procedural or if I can find one that's not aimed at teenagers and 20-somethings, a good superhero show. Maybe a sitcom, if I'm looking for something to just laugh at. Yeah, I'm not going to sit down and watch a kid's show 90% of the time. Phineas and Ferb being the exception, but that's written more for the adults than for the kids, honestly. Kind of like Shrek was, but just mature. Not like we say mature, and it usually means like adult themes, like sex and stuff, and that's not it. It's just a mature mindset. It's written for people who think about things instead of people who are just experiencing things for the first time, which is part of childhood and growing up. And I was there, and I'm not there anymore. And this show, what's it called? Miraculous Ladybug. It's not written for me, and that's okay. It has a target audience, and that's good. It's, Rodney Carrington says, as my grandfather used to say, if we all liked the same thing, everybody would be chasing after your grandmother. I love that joke. That's it. Those two characters interest me. Luca, I'd like to see more of. The rest of the characters are relatively stereotypical with some things to make them stand out. The best friend, Marinette's best friend is Alia. Adrian's best friend is Dino? Oh, they're going to crucify me in the comments when I get this wrong. Anyway, that's just what it is. And it's a good show for the right target audience. If you're an adult watching this with your kid, the later series is not going to be so awful to sit through. It's not like trying to watch Barney or even G.I. Joe. I go back and watch G.I. Joe from when I was a kid, and it does not stand up. I remember it being this awesome sci-fi, action hero war show. I go back and watch it, and I'm like, that's a kid's cartoon. But again, I'm not the target audience anymore, and that's fine. So, Kagami, interesting character. It's not going to work long term. In fact, she's probably going to be the one to break it off with Adrian, because that's her personality type. She's going to figure out it's not working if they get together, because they're not officially together. And she's going to realize he's not ready to make the decision and be like, okay, then we're not going to date. I'd rather know than not know is basically what I get from the interactions I've seen of this character. And that's pretty impressive. It's impressive the amount of diversity you get in just a kid show. They really do a good job. All right. Have a great day.